I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
Sobering stuff. I mean, the other thing I would say is, as you say, getting somebody to do it on your behalf. I've just started doing that. I actually went to freeup.com. We recently had Nathan Hirsch from FreeUp on, and the advantage of that is that you can get people who can hit the ground running because they're already trained in Amazon sourcing, and sometimes they can be as little as $5 an hour. I've got somebody working for me at the moment, $5 an hour, really good English. We'll see how good she is at dealing with the Chinese, but I would really encourage anyone who is going to try and cut corners like me, because they feel overwhelmed and is busy, just get yourself a good outsourcer. I cannot recommend it enough, because you cannot probably deal with the numbers on your own if you're working this part-time. Now let's talk about the main do's and don'ts when you're choosing a supplier. You're saying you have to consider tons of people. How do you go from your several thousand people you've contacted to what's the sort of most what's the word? Let's try an 80-20 this. What's the most effective way of doing it that is not ridiculously time consuming to go from, say, 1,000 people down to 3 and getting samples from them?
I think it's a sort of natural filtering process. I mean, even if you email 3,000 suppliers, you only get 100 replies. Then from the 100, 70% of them haven't even answered the questions you asked, or they don't have the relevant product. Boom, they're gone. And then it's just a case of, yeah, this guy's email, the photos of the product, that's the product I want. The price seems good. They've asked me questions about what I want in a way that shows that they know that product. So, let's say you're ordering an FM transmitter. Do you need CE and ROS certification, or do you need FCC certification? If they're asking you that, it shows that that person, has dealt with that product. They have expertise in it. That the next thing on that would be, I usually ask them for a list of other customers they've worked with. I want to know that they've exported to the market I'm dealing in, so that they know the rules and regulations. Some factories, some agents don't. They're just, winging it. Once they've sold it to you, they don't care that much. It's a natural selection process. And then it's kind of a gut instinct. You feel that, yeah, these 4 or 5 guys seem to be much better than the rest, or only one of them is good, or only a couple of them are good, or more of them are good. But I usually find that even from a blast of 3,000 suppliers, it whittles down to the top 4 or 5 that I want to get samples from pretty quickly. Within a few days of back and forth, who seems better. And then if you can't choose and you've got 10 who seem great, you just go to 10 lowest price for that item. Or if one looks, the quality looks really good from one, you get that sample too. Because even though everything looks good on the email, once you get the sample, your order in your head of which supplier is better than the other will flip, because the samples from one may be way better than the other, even though it's less or more expensive. So I think it's a time-consuming process, but you can kind of chip away and get that list down.
Makes sense. And actually what you say about only a certain percentage will respond is true. And you're absolutely right. I mean, whenever you do anything with the Chinese, in my experience, a lot of the time they'll answer a question they think you're asking, but they're really just not answering a question at all. I mean, sometimes they just evade everything. So yeah, that would definitely be a reason for me to eliminate somebody. So you're right. It will chip itself down naturally, I think. And the other thing, asking the right questions is a good clue. Again, that implies that whoever's sourcing knows the right sort of questions that they should be asking and knows about the certification themselves. I guess in the first time, if you're in a new product niche, you won't know that, but you'll get a flavor for it after a while. And absolutely, do they know about importing or exporting rather to the US? And that's a very good elimination question. So thank you. That's a very, very clear process. The other thing I was going to talk about is when you actually get to the point where you've got samples, you've negotiated about the quality and stuff. What's your ordering process? Do you go through the usual paperwork? So, a purchase order, pro forma invoice, commercial invoice. Do you think it's really important to have that in place, or is that a sort of unnecessary burden?
Well, most factories will want you to do that. Once you've got a relationship with them, it's different. You can ping them an email and say, hey, I need 5,000 more units of X. They'll send you the invoice. With the suppliers I was working with towards the end, I never raised any purchase orders. We had them internally for accounting, never sent to them. They just sent the invoice, we paid the deposit if necessary, and that was it. But I would say if you're dealing with a new factory, it's to place a purchase order and what you need to do on there is spell out what you're ordering exactly, including how it will be packed, like the steps it's going to go into the box, then this leaflet, then that bag. Everything needs to be on that purchase order. And also the quality standard is on there up front. If that's on the purchase order, there's no arguing later from the factory. You spell it all out there, and it helps you to catch mistakes. If you've gone back and forth with someone over 10 emails to develop a product, what's the final specification you're actually ordering? Is it spelled out somewhere? That kind of needs to be with the initial paperwork with the order too. Photos of maybe you're ordering this mug, but you're putting your logo here, but you don't have a sample to show that. You still need a photo of this and the explanation that the logo is going there with the documents you send over all in one email. So there can be no arguing later that, why didn't you make it how I was expecting it? Again, it's down to you to spell out what it is that you're ordering, what you're going to be getting, how it's going to be packed. So yeah, I would say go through that process. So specification, a separate how it would be packed specification, how the boxes are going to be marked, everything. I think it all needs to be there.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, every experience I've had in China when it's gone wrong is because I haven't spelt something out and then double checked and spelt it out again in letters of fire. Because the Chinese seem quite capable, I guess, because they're dealing with so many orders all the time, of doing absolutely massive mistakes if you don't double check. I mean, I've had people try and almost send 500 units or something just to the wrong continent sometimes. I mean, I've given them my address in London to send samples to, and then they were just about to send 500 units there. And I said, dude, these have got US plugs on. Do not send them to the UK. I can't do anything with them. Send to the US. So yeah, double, triple, quadruple check and communicate everything is my personal experience as a complete amateur compared to you, Antoni. The last question, the last area really I want to deal with is quickly to look at importing and exporting. What would you say is the biggest mistake that people make around that area with their Chinese suppliers?
What specifically do you mean? Do you mean in terms of the freight, the costs, or?
Well, I don't mean specifically. I mean, in any of those. I mean, what would you say in the whole process of once you've ordered a product, setting up the way that it goes from China to the US or China to the UK or wherever it's going?
So really, again, that's something that you should check up front before you order. Is if you're ordering a product, you want to check the freight cost, air, sea. You want to check with the freight forwarder who's actually going to be moving the goods, what the duties are going to be on that product. Also, are there any rules or regulations, restrictions on that product? You want to check that before you ever place the order, because if it's got a lithium battery, it's got all kinds of different lithium-ion batteries, it's got all kinds of different rules and regulations which you might not be aware about. So you want to take what item it is that you're going to be shipping, give it to 2 or 3 different freight forwarders, ask them to price it, but that's also a double check for them to say, hey, have you got this paperwork for this type of product that you might need up front? There may be rules. You might have made a bamboo or wooden chopping board and find out it needs fumigation before it ships, and you haven't factored that in or haven't arranged it. It delays you, whatever it is. It's just knowing these things up front, and that's getting all the prices, all the information when you have the sample before ever placing the order. That's going to prevent 95% of problems that come later. The other thing to watch out for is making sure that the product's securely packed into the carton. So you want to get the factory to send you a Microsoft Word document with step-by-step photos of how it's packed from the individual product into the box, into the inner carton, into the outer carton, just to see, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it looks secure. Yes, they've got the right sizes. Yes, everything looks fine. You could go as far as doing a drop test, which is just simply dropping the box from a certain height to see if everything's secure and not moving around. A vibration test, so it shakes it around a little bit. That can be done at the factory before it ships, because that's I would say the 2 things are rules and regulations, and 2 is products being damaged in shipment. So any little checks you can do on the product before it actually goes out will help prevent some of that, because certain packaging, when next to each other, it's going to rub, the color's going to go across, or the product might not be snug in the box is too large, it gets damaged. So those are the main things I would recommend. It's just, again, it's running through everything that could potentially go wrong and checking that before you even place an order for that product. It's not easy when you're new to it. The other thing I would say is, you kind of touched on it, is someone might be new to a particular product. By blasting 3,000 factories, all the information you get back from those emails, you'll be an expert on that product in a week. And you use the information from one to basically challenge the others to say, hey, are you following this standard too? And also you can then use them to cross negotiate each other. You can say, hey, these guys gave me $1.20, you are $1.50, and it's similar quality. I like you because XYZ. If you can come to $1.30, the price will, I'll order from you. So you can use that information at this stage before you ship in negotiation. So really, again, all of this work is up front, and don't be afraid to ask the supplier to give you that info. Show me the QC report from other customers that you've done this product for. I want to see, whether you're passing QC. Show me your factory audit that someone's done on you before to check that your processes and your systems are good. Show me your normal packing methods. Show me what other customers are ordering and how they're packing it, why they're packing it that way. Show me how I can lower the price. Show me how I can increase the quality. There's no reason you can't ask them. They're doing this product day in, day out, but they know it. You don't. They don't think that you don't know it. They just assume you know it too. So if you don't ask, you won't find out. So going there, it kind of helps prevent a lot of that. But there's no reason over Skype or email that you can't get a lot of this extra info that will prevent a lot of errors just through more discussion. And that's where the no rush comes in. If you're in a hurry, you miss all of this upfront quality check, upfront negotiation, upfront discussion, upfront product improvement. You're basically shooting yourself in the leg. Yeah, you'll get a product into Amazon. You'll be competitive for 2 or 3 months because the current price is X. But it's all of that work you do up front. So yeah, maybe your product development process is a month longer than the other guys, but that product inside out. You've bought it at a price which is much lower, and you've had time to think about, is it really worth me even doing this product? Look at all this work, and the margins, 50 cents an item. At most, I'm going to make $2,000 a month. Should I even bother, or should I find something else to develop? So it all comes back to not rushing, but not over analyzing, just going through the kind of key steps. And I think there's enough free information out there, and there's books you can pick up for $10-15 that will give you an overview of these steps. So you can't say, oh, I didn't know I have to do that. I mean, it's all there really. If you want to do this well, that you now have the information to just go through step by step and make sure you cover off every area.
Wow. So that's such a comprehensive list. And even the idea of going back to the suppliers and just asking them for everything, just being very kind of cheeky is also one of those that I understand from Chinese culture, and you'd know about this in depth, that they really respect that you're acting like a professional buyer, and therefore they'll treat you more seriously. So all it remains for me to say, Antoni, is thank you so much for all this extra value that you brought, apart from telling us about your amazing tool, Cashcow Pro, the amazing information you've given from all your years of sourcing experience, and amazing amounts of golden nuggets, things that are very actionable, things you can do which will really, really improve your chances of a great quality product at a good competitive price that will be low enough to actually make profit over a decent chunk of time. So Antoni, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And stay in touch with us. If you've got big improvements to your Cashcow Pro tool at some point in a few months, then get in touch and we'll talk again.
Definitely. Love to do that.
Great. Thank you so much.